There we go. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us, and welcome to Firing Range, a podcast to talk about all things Destiny weapons, abilities, loadouts, and the sandbox at large. Today's episode brought to you by glasses. Glasses. They're what cool people wear, or so we tell ourselves. And tonight, we have a special guest joining us tonight, a friend of the community and a popular requested guest on the show. Please welcome Gleaux. What's up, buddy?
Oh, hey, what's going on? Thanks for having me, everyone. It's pretty exciting.
Hey, anytime, buddy. We've been, running the, what is it? What do they say? Running the gambit? The gambit? Running the whatever. We've been
gambit, brother.
Running the gambit, brother. We've been
just
bringing
standing
in
there.
fun new people to chat with ever since our dear friend Merc
Abandoned us.
Great, thank you. Moved on to greener pastures at Bungie. Pour one out for Merc, but it's been fun having a lot of new, interesting people on the show. So, Gleaux, thank you very much for being here. And right out of the gate, we'll just ask what kind of what scene are you into? You streaming? You YouTubing? Where's the content? What do you do?
Yeah, sure. I guess I've been like just a community member in Destiny for a very long time. I got into streaming maybe about a couple years ago, and these days I kind of stream like once a month, and I put out some occasional YouTube content. But as far as just like involvement, I help moderate the Crucible Guidebook subreddit.
Okay.
Pretty active on Twitter. And
good to know.
Some people might complain about. And yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Just kind of doing my thing and enjoying the game as best I can. Good
for you, man. Being a mod is a thankless job. So thank you for that. Man, how is the guidebook? That's that was kind of the branch off of the old Crucible playbook on Reddit, right?
Yeah, after I forget who ran playbook, shut it down.
Oh, that's so
for whatever
sad.
reason. It kind of
Birds, Bones, and Swain. I miss those three guys.
Yeah, I think they kind of like just took a leave from the community. So
they did, yeah.
the playbook community kind of splintered. There's like the Sherpa subreddit and then the guidebook subreddit. So we've tried our best to keep the idea behind it alive. Not subscribing to scrub mentality and playing the game we have and getting better within those confines.
Yeah,
Yes.
I feel like you as a content creator have kind of stuck to that theme since the beginning of Destiny 2. All the different eras, no matter what ability or weapon is strong, you've said, all right, how do I win against this? How do I play better?
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's something that like our friend group and our team excels at, man. It's no matter what the bullshit is, we definitely get tilted over it sometimes, but at the end of the day, we just figure out how to play through it.
And win in our own way sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like back in the day when the original playbook guys were around, that was something that they were passionate about, and not a lot of people understood, because a lot of people would try to start threads being like, this is overpowered, it needs to get nerfed. And it's like, well, while I personally agree with you, that's not what the subreddit is for. It's like, sure, we can have that discussion elsewhere about, like, just because we have this is the meta doesn't mean that we're all happy with and fine with the meta. But this isn't a place where we're gonna get all jammed up with talking about what petition to nerf this, buff that. There's plenty of places to discuss that, but it was sort of like, let's talk about how to succeed within the world that we live in now. Here's what the meta is. How do we use that to our advantage, or how do we better understand it?
Definitely. I mean, I delete like no bullshit at least 5 or 6 posts a day that are talking about something that I'll go on Twitter 6 hours later and complain about. But like you said, that's not the place for it, right?
Exactly.
There's plenty of avenues for it. It's just not that one.
Of course. Anyway, thank you very much for being on the show. We're going to just take off, man, because we have so much to talk about. If you're listening at home, we're probably going to follow in glorious tradition of maybe getting to borderline no community questions. But the good news is, after going through almost all the community questions on Twitter before the show, a lot of them were focused on the Omega TWAB, which Bungie dropped upon us. So if you're going to listen to tonight's show, first of all, thank you. And second of all, highly recommend that you open up the most recent This Week at Bungie, the huge one that they dropped on Thursday, April 21st, which went over a ton of changes, because we are going to be discussing that for the majority of the show. And we'll give you a brief summary. We're not going to read the TWAB to you, because I did that live on Twitch when it dropped, and it took me 2 hours to read it live. And we only have about an hour right now, but we want to get to the nitty gritty the meat and potatoes. And by the way, Drew is not here tonight, which is a huge shame because we would have loved to hear him talk about several things on this TWAB, but it's fine. We'll get his thoughts on it next time because he's always out there. He's always around. I'm going to assume that everyone here is maybe okay with the changes that they made to the glaives. I don't know if anyone here is a huge glaive maniac because I'm not. When I started reading the TWAB, I felt like the glaive portion was maybe like a mild appetizer. Any thoughts from anyone here regarding the changes that they promised they would make to glaives in the next season?
So I initially think that glaives could have used a little bit more, and that's exactly what they did. They gave them a little bit more.
Yeah.
Dude, they're a fun weapon. Is it ever going to,
Dominate.
run the game? No.
Yeah, probably not.
No, it's got a niche thing, and you can do niche things with it.
True.
And I've noticed that, if you run it with a fire team, people have to be on board with that because you can tank a lot of damage. You can do some cool things with the glaive.
Yeah.
But if you're out there on your own by yourself in a fire team, like the magic's kind of lost, I feel. But
I would agree.
They're fun. I like the changes.
When I have a friend who plays PvP with me and he rocks a glaive, like especially when we do trials together, I'm like, you have to tell me in advance because it's like either we're going hard for the win or we're doing like meme crap. I better not catch you using the glaive unless we've all agreed that we're going in on a meme build. But they are fun.
Like it working with the exotics now, and someone in chat, that's one of the things I wanted to point out. That's a big step forward with
That's
it.
a good start. Yeah. Definitely a good start. If you're interested in glaives, I'm sure that that particular portion of the TWAB did appeal to you. I hope that the changes are everything you wanted them to be and more. However, the next part of the TWAB was kind of much more. There are two, I would say, like the left and right punch of the TWAB. The left punch being the global changes coming to flinch. Rather important. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter already already trying to build craft high stability weapons. Again, if you haven't read the TWAB, we encourage you read that portion of it. But the TLDR is that Bungie has understood that flinch is a common pain point in the community, and they're trying to repurpose the stability weapon stat as a extra way to build into anti-flinch. So they're still going to keep the effects on your chest armor of flinch reduction, but now in the next season, the more stability you build into a weapon, the more flinch resist you will have, depending on the weapon archetype. And they talked a lot about that. Before we kind of dive in, I would love to hear everybody's thoughts, starting with Gleaux.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that we've been asking for a while, rather. One of the things that I found most interesting about this part of the TWAB was that we got some hard numbers on things that we found hard to quantify in the past. Like, for example, an unflinching armor mod we now know is a 30% flinch reduction.
Yeah.
No distractions is 35%, which is pretty significant. One of the things that I am worried about is the fact that it feels like sniper rifles maybe have the ability to build into a little bit too much flinch resistance. I'm always worried about the relative strength of special weapons, especially snipers, because I feel that they have the tendency to make the high-end in-game PvP a little bit stale because things just get standoffish, especially like in elimination type game modes.
Yeah.
So I am worried that they get in the intrinsic 10% at 100 stability, even if that's kind of like a high mountain to climb for getting stability on snipers. But then I think about adding in 2 unflinching sniper rifle mods, no distractions, all these things, 10 resilience, and it gets a little hazy for me at that point because it's like, well, snipers already don't really get flinched, so now that there's a way to build into it, is it going to be worse now? In addition to that, I don't think the 10% reduction 10% reduction bonus for 100 resilience is that much. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm going to be running 100 resilience on every character I play, but I would have liked to have seen that bonus be a little bit higher, considering resilience is,
A dead
not very
stat to a lot of
desirable.
players.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Gleaux, am I correct in saying that you're a Warlock player for the majority?
I am. Yep.
And you are going to run, this is a good conversation here. So you plan on running high resil even on a warlock, is it mainly for the benefit here of now being tied to anti-flinch, or are there other weapons in the sandbox that you fear that maybe a 9 or a 10 is going to protect you against?
No, it's 100% the flinch resistance. Currently, I build my warlocks for 10 mobility, 2 resilience, 10 recovery, and then either 10 strength or 10 discipline, depending on which class I'm playing, or subclass rather.
Could you repeat those numbers?
I'll normally go 10 mobility, 2 resilience, 10 recovery, and then either 10 strength or 10 discipline, depending on
usually me too. Okay.
the ability focus is. But going forward, I think I'm gonna, even though I love strafe and the skill gap that I think strafe enables, I think having flinch resistance is too valuable compared to the strafe. So I'll drop down to like 4 mobility and go 10 resilience, 10 recovery instead.
Fair.
And also, you can kind of artificially inflate some of those stats. We have solar, and we see it in void. You can get an extra plus 10 resil here and there from your fragments too. So
I mean, I typically either main Shaybinder or Stormcaller. So stasis has a lot of avenue to gain resilience.
I actually wanted to talk to you about that another time. Maybe when we don't have such a meaty TWAB to continue to bite into. That you're a top tree Stormcaller main.
Yeah,
and I find that very interesting.
Classically trained in the art of sides, I would say.
Yeah. We'll get into that later. Cammy, thoughts on the anti-flinch changes coming to D2?
Because it mitigates RNG, I feel like I'm forced to spec into it just to send a message to the opponent like, oh, you like RNG? You want RNG in your gunfights? They better be 10 resilience too if the win needs to count.
Oh, man. Yeah, so Bungie gives a quick numeric breakdown. I'll just throw out some numbers. For if you have 100 stability, 25% extra anti-flinch for auto rifles, SMGs, and bows, 20% for pulse rifles, scouts, sidearms, and a machine gun, 15% for hand cannon, which I feel like is probably more than fair considering how popular hand cannons already are right now.
And they're the flinch givers. I was going to say, this is the biggest part of the flinch changes, is that we can use weapons that are not hand cannons to maybe combat hand cannons. That's interesting. Otherwise, it always feels like if you're trying to use a pulse or auto against a hand cannon or a scout, you get flinched off and you can't fight even at your optimal distance.
It will work. I've tested it. It will work. Because if you do Suros Synergy double unflinching, it combats Crimson, dude. Like it combats Invincible Aces. Yeah. It does. So I want to bring something up because I was thinking about it today.
Do tell.
I'm going to bring it to you guys. In theory, well, first of all, M&K players, that stability is a stat that you should probably pay attention to because historically you've been fine, really.
Yeah.
A lot of M&K players go max range and they still will. They still can. But if you can spec into stability, if the roll's there, it's going to help you. But this change, like let's take pulse rifles. They're 20, like at 100 stability, it's 20% flinch resistance. So in theory, at 50 stability, it'd be 10, right? 5 resilience, in theory, would be 5.
Sure.
So really, the landscape of the game, this is what I want to bring. Every weapon gets this, essentially. Everybody's getting flinch reduction. So like it should be at least 15% less flinch in your gunfights. And you can build into them more. Like engagements are going to be completely different because it's universal. Like not even building into it, just your passive resilience, your passive stability. Everyone's getting less flinch. What do you think about that? That's just out of the gate.
I think that's good because it puts more of a focus on gunfights again,
rather
than reaction speed and maybe buffer from lag.
I think it's good in the context of primary fights, but again, I'm going to go back to sniper rifles, which are currently problematic without the current level or the future levels of flinch reduction we're going to see. It's like what happens then,
They have to run down Midtown to get their one bullet. That's what's going to happen.
That's funny. Let's see. I'm just trying to look over and if there's any additional tidbit or nugget of info that Bungie sneaked in here, but it's mainly the fact that stability and resilience are tied into being helpful with anti-flinch.
I will say this made my hunter very difficult to build because I have to somehow fit 10 resilience in.
That's right. Yeah.
Getting
Titan
up
mains are
recovery.
jumping for joy though.
But
Titans are like, hey, thanks for the free anti-flinch, bro.
what's kind of weird to me, man, there are some archetypes that just have inherently historically poor stability, like a high impact scout, right? Those already suck in gunfights. Receiving flinch from a hand cannon, dude, and like their base stability, I think, is 22 average. So, I mean, Jade Rabbit might be awesome, and Polaris too, but you have to think those are the only two scouts in the game that are high impacts that are above 60 stability, and they both have Zen moment. Kind of funny how they are the best 150s in the game. But it's not just those. There are some other archetypes that have low stats that already.
Bungie mentioned specifically in the TWAB that they're like, just remember that a stability stat of below 20 will technically have a small flinch resist penalty.
Yeah.
But only a few weapons have a stability stat in that range. And I instantly poured one out. I poured one out for my God Roll Multi-Mock, which has a 17 stability. Probably the lowest stability weapon I have.
High impact ARs, and those struggle in gunfights, man. A lot of people don't use them simply. Like, the TTKs are competitive, but they get knocked so much, man.
Yeah,
and if you're telling me I'm starting at 25 stability already, and like a base hand cannon is like 68, 70. I mean, Iceland is getting up to 90. Fatebringer 100. So
yeah, it's gonna be. It's like you're gonna have to put a little bit more thought into how you're gonna pimp out your God Roll weapons from here on out. But I think it's an interesting
120 RPM hand cannons kind of get shafted a little bit too. Like
that is true.
Igneous Hammer is really the only one I can think of off the top of my head that just has, beastly stability numbers.
Yeah.
But like my True Prophecy that I've been using for years now is 32 stability. Yep.
I farmed out a Loud Lullaby to try to mitigate that, and I played some Rumble without any abilities, and it felt like a worthy trade-off because it might still be a 2-tapper with kill clip after the changes, which might be rare when universal damage boosting perks like high energy fire or whatever get reduced to 15%.
Yeah.
I was telling Cam I want to get a surplus frenzy lullaby and just like turn off all my abilities and just run around with like a statted out cannon. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Anything else that we want to comment on before moving on to the right hand punch of the TWAB?
I think it's going to be interesting because, like I said, universally, the gunfights are going to all have less flinch. Just out of the gate, not even building into it.
Here's a question. How out of everybody here, who's going to just say thanks for the free unflinching, and who is going to intentionally build into like super, like who's going to intentionally make builds to take max advantage of unflinching?
I am.
Yeah, I'm gonna do everything they give me is on the same build. It sends a message.
I will not play PvP without 100 resilience.
And Drew, I will.
Feels the same.
100%. Yeah. Even before this change, like we've all probably inspected Drew at one point and be like, damn, son really loves his unflinching. Like he hates being flinched in PvP. Yep. Talks about it all the time. So
he has a pretty interesting build to mitigate that. He runs something that my friend Vox used to run, which was 10 mobility, 10 resilience, and then just you don't care about recovery because Graviton Forfeit gives you a free 9.5 while you're invisible. And so he's building into the smoke grenade. His smoke grenade can activate the BXR perk on the battler, and so it ends up being very, very good in elimination too, because the smoke is multi-purpose. It's his damage booster, and then the invis is his recovery.
Drew's crazy, man.
My 100 build is going to be a lot like year one was. I don't know if you guys remember, but bottom tree arc striders would run 10 mobility and like 8 or 9 resilience, and they'd run 0 recovery because they had worm husk to jumpstart it. And you also had, I forget what the name of the perk is on bottom tree arc strider that like increases your ability regen.
Combat meditation.
Yeah, that one. But that's basically what my 100 builds are going to be. I'm going to run worm husk, but just 10 mobility, 10 resilience, and then whatever recovery I have left. I'm not going to care about it.
Smart. Very smart.
Yeah, the meta is going to be Cloud Strike with the shoot to loot Volpacula. You guys just don't know it yet.
Get the shoot to loot snipe and shoot the game just so nobody can have it.
There you go.
Some villain shit.
You heard it here first, baby.
Waste one to get one.
Just shoot it out of the air. They see it in the third person cam. Why did you do that?
Already seeing a few people in our live Twitch chat commenting on what their stat breakdowns are going to be. Feel free to share in the chat or later on Twitter what you intend to build your stats into next season, because I'd love to read them. But moving on, let's hop on into the meat to the potatoes of the TWAB here, which is the changes being made to Airborne gunplay. And this is huge. I know the community has talked about potentially changing the Airborne gunfighting system, and I wasn't really predicting what we got. I will say in advance that despite all the day one, how should I phrase this? Conversations.
Lunacy, perhaps?
Yeah. All
Since
the day one
early Destiny 1, we've wanted
passionate conversations on both Reddit and Twitter. I will say that I think these changes are going to be for the better. I know a lot of people are probably feeling like they're like they just lost their favorite pet dog or something like that with the changes to the Stompies, but like the more I read into it, I'm feeling it. But if you haven't read the TWAB at home, this is something that you should really read. If you're not historically known for like, I'll just kind of figure out what the meta is, you should really probably watch a video from someone on the changes, or you should read. We'll give you a quick TLDR. Bungie is adding a new weapon stat, which will come into the game being a hidden value, kind of like the way aim assist is now. But then later they're going to make it visible on your weapon, along with other hidden stat values. And it's the Airborne effectiveness stat. And depending on what your Airborne effectiveness number is, it's going to affect how well your gun will perform essentially in the air. You can read into everything that they put in the TWAB. I'll just read this one section, which I think provides a pretty good explanation. With little to no investment, 0 to 30 Airborne stat, you will have a smaller accuracy penalty than what we have right now, but have significantly lower aim assist. With minimal 31 to 50 Airborne stat, you'll have around the same in-air accuracy penalty, or I'm sorry, around the same in-air accuracy as Icarus equipped weapons do right now, but with noticeably lower aim assist. With 51 to 70 Airborne, you'll have better accuracy than weapons right now with Icarus, with fewer misses due to randomness, but with reduced aim assist overall. With 71 to 99, you'll have no Airborne accuracy penalty with very slightly less aim assist. With full investment, a 100 Airborne build, you will have no Airborne accuracy penalty and the same level of aim assist. There's more to it than that, but that's kind of like the 30,000 foot view, no pun intended.
We summarize further and split between Airborne stat turns on accuracy and aim assist. Aim assist is how much the bullet will correct if you miss, and accuracy is how straight your bullet will go.
Right.
On the crosshair.
So think about when you jump up, if you're like at home, load up the game right now, jump in the air with a hand cannon. You know how your accuracy cone will like bloom out? That's what they talk about in the TWAB when they're talking about the accuracy penalty. Accuracy cones and aim assist cones are two different things. But that is Bungie's general idea. How do you guys feel about that?
Something I've wanted since Destiny 1.
They you know, when you weed through it, they made it better. Mm-hmm. They made it better.
Yeah, they did.
A lot better.
In my opinion. Yeah.
No, so like you were saying, Fallout, like there are two cones. There's the accuracy cone and the aim assist cone. And essentially, when you jump in the air, those two are two separate units. But what they did, if you have at least 71, a character will have no Airborne accuracy penalty, right?
At all.
So essentially, they're giving you 1-to-1 shot, right? Because before, and then at 100, no air. So basically, if you're at least 71, from that point on, you have no Airborne accuracy penalty. The same aim assist at 100. And you have to think most of our weapons have 90 plus aim assist anyway, so you're not going to get hit that bad. And then 51 to 70, you'll have better accuracy than retail. So overall, the accuracy is better. And they kind of went through it, and I'll explain. You have those two cones. Essentially, when they're right on top of each other, they would overlap. And they said before, if at any point the aim assist cone overlapped within that accuracy, it would give it to you.
Yeah.
And now that they're saying it's not. So when you build into that stat, it's basically, well, first of all, the accuracy is, they said you have no air, it's 100%. Like the bullet's going where you're aiming, but your friction, a little bit of the magnetism, but it's mostly the friction. It sounds like it's going to hurt controller players more, right? Just out of the gate, because they're not as pinpoint. Yeah, because they're not as pinpoint accurate. But overall, this is a good thing. Even with the Stompee nerf, dude. The Stompee, if you were to build heavy into that, that means you'd be a Revenant Hunter throwing Hedrons. I think it gets to like 30. You can mitigate it to like 25 or 30. That's just with everything, right? But even at that, when it says that it's that low, 0 to 30, they'll have a smaller accuracy penalty than retail, but have significantly lower aim assist. So essentially, for controller players on Stompies, it's going to be a lot more difficult, because a lot of people have asked, when we talk about a Fallout, oh, I wish they would just turn aim assist off. You do not want aim assist off. Good luck, dude. Like, go play Halo 3 and try to shoot a teammate.
Exactly.
Like, land 4 shots in a row. Anyway, I think that it's a really good change. And this is just a long way to kind of say that it is better, specifically it being 100% accurate from the air. It's just the aim assist part, right?
Yeah, that alone. Yeah. It kind of turned exotics into legendaries. It put Icarus grip on everything.
Exactly.
It's just
they even said for those exotics that they bumped the stat, the airborne stat on them, right?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
To compensate.
And like, I think it's I saw a lot of shouting on Twitter, which like I get, because this is out of every major change they've made to the game, I feel like this one is pretty major. And it's going to shake up the meta probably more than a lot of other things have in the past. So I get why people were initially confused and maybe angry at the change, and without trying to, I mean, like, when Bungie F's up, we call them on it, right? Like, stasis comes in way too hot. We're like, what the F? This is not, that ain't right. We gotta address this like right now. But I think it's fair to say that this is a beneficial change. I mean, like, how many people, like, raise your hand? I'll raise my hand. Like, how many people have been complaining about the accuracy cone blooming out like wild when you jump in the air, and it just drives you crazy since the launch of D2. Like, it's drove me crazy. So many players are out there are like, I really wish we had a much more reduced accuracy penalty when in the air. So Bungie's giving us that. Not only are they giving us the smaller accuracy penalty when airborne, you can intentionally build craft into it. But I would bet money that they were probably sitting around when they were brainstorming this crap. They were thinking, well, that sounds good if we give it to them, but what is the potential downside? If we severely reduce the accuracy penalty, then people are just going to nonstop, like, the combat will leave the ground forever if we don't change anything else, right? Because people are going to crutch on aim assist hardcore and just leap through the air with the greatest of ease, like Cool Guy with like the cones overlapping and stuff like that. It's going to be super easy to take advantage of that.
Well, right now, I'd say that is the case with modern day hand cannon plus Icarus grip plus Stompee launching forward.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
and easily hit a 3-tap.
If they were going to hit them, they could have done a lot of things to Stompies, dude. You have to think, they gave you the chart, man. Look at that blue right in the center. It looks right in your soul.
Funny.
The usage rate. You have to think, with these changes, for X amount of years, they've been the top pick. After this change, if they didn't do that, what would run even more?
That's the thing. Like, that's the trade-off. So they're giving us a smaller accuracy penalty overall when you jump into the air. Hell, if you have a 71 airborne stat, if you jump in the air with a hand cannon, your accuracy cone ain't changing at all. No bloom when you jump in the air with that hand cannon. That's awesome. But the trade-off is, like, if we're going to get that reduced accuracy penalty, we have to have some kind of drawback from aim assist. Otherwise, the new system would be insanely broken. Like Cool Guy mentioned, Stompies are already by far the #1 exotic pick for like hunters and PvP.
And they're still great, dude. They didn't do anything in the movement. They're still great. You can still on a dime slide. You can still on a dime switch directions with a triple jump, dude. Like, it still has the movement.
It has the movement for sure. Yeah, but I think it was the right call, because Bungie's essentially saying, yeah, we'll give you that reduced penalty that you've been asking for, but like, you got to be accurate with your gun, man. You can't be flying around the air like with crazy levels of aim assist, because that would be way too effed up. But like you gotta be accurate, man. You can go crazy with those Stompies if you want, dude, but you better be as accurate as you claim to be with your hand cannon.
I play tested this recently. I took off Icarus grip on the hand cannon and then just threw on every accuracy perk in the game, not aim assist perks, and just tried Stompies in general again, and they were fantastic. A lot of times I was in situations where I didn't need the 3-tap in the air. It was just any amount of damage to the leg would have finished it. And that's when they come up. It gets me to the place I need in the map. And more importantly, nobody can catch me if they pop a super. So I waste their time. Teammates just shoot them in the back. That's usually how it goes.
Oh, and by the way, clarification for the listeners at home. Just because after I mentioned all the numbers behind the airborne effectiveness stat, Bungie went on to say that certain weapons here, they just threw out a couple of values for here's what you're going to get. Each weapon's initial airborne effectiveness stat, chaperone at level 1, Lamau. The Stompies would get a -50. So if you are a hunter and you're going to put on the Stompies, you're already starting in the basement. You would have to build 50 points into airborne effectiveness to get to 0. So that's where a lot of hunter mains were freaking out about it on Twitter. But like, I've talked to Drew, who has never, very, very rarely strayed from the path of hunter in PvP. When I literally think of like dedicated diehard hunter mains in PvP, I think like Drew, cool guy, and it's really close, and like they're both up there, right? Cool guy, you play hunter a lot. But you like to experiment. You like to tinker around. I think Drew goes a little bit harder. But Drew is still afraid of the Stompies. We talked about this because think about it. If you have the aim assist penalty or the reduced airborne effectiveness penalty, keeping you lower on the airborne effectiveness tier, does that mean you'll be penalized and less lethal with every weapon? No, because there are some weapons that you can jump in the air with that don't require pinpoint accuracy. One of them,
messenger, right?
Dude, Drew is literally predicting, and I'm not a gambling man, but if I were, I would put my chips onto that stack. He's predicting that one quote problem, or maybe like super powerful loadout option next season, is going to be Stompee's Dead Messenger, which, yeah, I totally see that because you don't need pinpoint accuracy like you would with a hand cannon to get a headshot. If you just pair that with any SMG, you jump way over their head, Dead Messenger down, swap gun to SMG, clean them up. And again, it's just, you're getting the aim assist penalty, but you don't need crits to clean up a guy who's been like 3/4 burned to death by the Dead Messenger.
Not to mention, you're so physically close to the target at that range, it's not really difficult to hit precisions anyway.
Yeah.
There's also perks like heating up, right?
Heating up gets a lot of value. Yeah, that's what I was talking about when I said playtesting with all the accuracy perks. It makes an absolute difference in the
heating
air.
Up's nuts, dude.
And dare I say, if Stompies are going to be a -50, it might be smarter to just never try to go above 0. It might be just saying, all right, Ace of Spades has a shit in air stat, but I have shit in air anyway, so it's just use that.
Yeah.
So one thing I think we want to speak to is there's a couple things in the TWAB that I feel like didn't get a lot of play on Twitter. And number one is when they talked about air assault, they specifically said that certain weapon perks, such as the redesigned air assault, which to me implies that there's going to be more than just this perk, right?
Absolutely.
Yep.
I would not be shocked if we don't see the return of the Icarus perk from Destiny 1 or something along those lines that allows you to build into it in your weapon.
Yeah.
Hedrons was a fragment that got called out as something that's going to add to your accuracy stat for in-air or airborne effectiveness, whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's safe to assume that when Solar 3.0 rolls around, because Dawnblade and in-air effectiveness has some sort of like correlation to solar abilities, I wouldn't be surprised if we see fragments related to that in Solar 3.0 rework. So I think we haven't seen the full picture when it comes to ways to invest into airborne effectiveness.
Yeah.
And the second thing I'll say, which is the biggest controversial piece of this, in my opinion, is Stompies, right? I feel like if you're a Stompee player, you hate this change. If you don't play Stompies, you think it's fantastic, right?
Yep.
And there's really no in between from what I've seen on Twitter. There's a there's a subsection of players who are hand cannon, shotgun, sniper players who main Stompies and play hunter, who feel like their way of life in this game is under siege by these changes, and I don't think it's warranted. I think that if you are a talented mechanical player in this game, if you have good aim, if you have good fundamentals,
Yeah.
if you truly feel that your movement skill is where it is whenever you go and claim on Twitter, I don't think you're going to get hurt, because there will be ways for you to invest into your airborne effectiveness to get to let me double check here. I think 30 is where you start. You don't get an accuracy penalty. You just get an aim assist penalty. So if you're one of those players who truly believes in your mechanical skill, is this not an increase in the skill gap?
No, that's the thing. Yeah.
Bad players can no longer have the same degree of accuracy as you.
If you're Gleaux, you are dead on, my man. Like, the thing is, if your aim is cracked, you are going to soar with these changes, man.
Yeah, so I think like the great hunters got buffed, because I can put on Stompies and fly through the air, and I have, above average aim on my best day, which is good enough to carry me in Destiny. But when I go watch like DeFizzle or Walla or like some of these insane hunters play, those guys don't miss, man.
They don't.
And now they're just going to make those of us who don't have that kind of aim look like idiots when we try to do it
100%.
The same way they do. So I think those people should be happy about these changes, because there will be ways to build into it that we haven't seen yet. I would bet all the money in my pocket that that's true. And they're going to have a way to showcase their skill by being able to take advantage of aerial gameplay.
Absolutely. And to me, it's going to be like even more impressive when, like, if I go into PvP and a hunter
controller player does it.
If a hunter is literally breaking my neck with their, with their usual hunter movement gameplay, and they're flying over me, and they're still cracking those dome shots with the aim assist penalty, or potentially no aim assist penalty if they're building into it, I'm like, bravo, sir. Like, you 3-tap domed me in the air with with slightly lower aim assist. Your aim really is goddamn busted, bro.
Dude,
you really are.
Right now, the Saris gamer tag and clan name people fly through the air and 3-tap me, and I don't think anything about it. I just go, wow, that was bullshit. But when it happens in this later update, I'm gonna be like, I just got gun skilled. Like, what else do I have to say about it? Like, you don't have a ton of aim assist. You just 3-tap me.
Yeah, that's a great outlook.
This is it's a good change for the game, and it's also giving more avenues for actual build crafting. Because, dude, we've talked about it. I am so sorry, dude, but triple 100, insert neutral exotic. It's not. I mean, yeah, you could call it build crafting,
sure,
but I mean, it's. How do I explain this? Especially with resilience tying into it, like, I haven't thought of that, Gleaux. Like, I'm not sure I would run 100 on my Warlock, dude, because I value the grenade and I value the recovery so much.
I can give it both. I don't have to trade it off.
Yeah, so yeah, there's trade-offs. You can get into some intricate things with some of these exotics and ways of playing, and I still think that triple 100 Stompies is going to be fine, dude. If anything, like you were saying, they're going to be better, like, really.
Yeah.
But it's giving, building into flinch. There's your actual exotic build. There's your airborne building into. There's more avenues to go. And there might be some of you out there that don't play from the air, dude. And like, what you would do is you just invest heavily into your flinch resistance, dude. Like, I love it. I love it. It's good for the game.
I want to say, Gleaux, please continue.
I was going to say, I think the average Stompee player will probably see a reduction in their ability to be effective. But the high end
average Stompee player, yes,
right, the average player,
the average player,
the high end, like, mechanically talented player is going to excel even further.
I would bet money that you are correct.
On the topic of the other exotics, because there's a lot of things that got buffs to their airborne effectiveness that I don't think necessarily needed it. Like, does anyone actually think Ophidians needed to be stronger?
I was literally
another world.
I was literally just
I have
about to
another
bring
world
that
need
up.
to be buffed. Like,
look,
those
fair,
exotics are
fair
already
fair.
insane.
I know we're asking the teacher if they collected their homework.
I know.
Ophidians.
Look, fair is fair. Okay, like, I play every class, but I love Warlock most of all. And
I have had Ophidians glued to me for the last 3 years, and I think it's ridiculous that they've got plus
Ophidians are hands down my favorite PvP exotic, because it's all strength, no weak.
Yeah, there's no downside.
And the fact that they're getting a +10 to all under the umbrella of the aerial gunplay system, I'm like, okay, that
Not a
to
minus
me
10 at
doesn't
that point,
make sense. That
I got through this entire 12 and I got to the part where it said +15 from I Have Another World and +10 from Ophidian, and I went, do you mean my duality might be accurate in air now? And then I was like, oh, well, okay then.
Yeah, I think fair's fair. And I know that, like, again, like Cammy said, we're asking for the teacher to collect the homework here. But, like, come on, if the hunters are going to get their thick blue bar touched in a way
That's what I'm
that is,
saying.
yeah, a fair, like, you know,
When someone gets domed by my
intended
Stompies, I
balance.
want them to be like, all right, he
Yeah.
outplayed me. When they get domed by my Ophidians, I want them to say that too. But
Exactly.
unfortunately, they can't say that right now.
Exactly.
They
Hey, you
just
go
got
look at that
chased.
bar for Ophidians, it's not much different than the bar from Stompies.
No,
It's
it's
not.
it's like the same. Yeah. I just can't believe that they put a +10 to it.
But we were talking though, Fallout, like,
Yeah.
because a lot of people on Twitter brought it up, like, you can't compare the power fluffle to the Stompy triple, dude. Like, if you go on, like, let's say Twilight Gap, you know, you spawn at A, and then you go up the stairs, there's that room.
Yeah.
Get in the phone booth with the Stompy Hunter and Ophidian Warlock jumping around. Who wins?
Yeah.
9 out of 10. Who wins?
The hunter. But yeah, but like
So like, that's why I don't think that.
Isn't rubber band probably.
That's why I don't think. Yeah, I mean,
Oh, no
he's
doubt.
gonna-
Hunter jump is different than the other two.
Yeah.
For sure. It's a lot better.
But still-
which is
but
why
still, I'm
Stompies
gonna
have never
use-
been the same as Transversive and Dunes.
But
I'm
you don't
gonna
need too
use-
much for a power fluffle to get in the air 5-10 meters, you know,
Yeah.
to get a headshot either.
I do agree. Hunters, the ability for hunters to reach their max jump height, they can do it like that, whereas the warlocks have to slow floof to reach that height. So like I do get that the jumps are different at a base level, but still I think it's fair to apply the cool guy Deej logic, where if you have one exotic which is being used far more than other exotics, it's like, okay, does it now become time to examine that exotic? Is it time to maybe give it a little bit of an adjustment? And I do think, especially now with the buff to the aerial combat system, that the Ophidian aspects probably need to be looked at. And it does pain me to say as a warlock main, but I just think all is fair in Love and War, and I think it's the right move for the team to look at the Ophidians.
I'll
This
tell
is
you
one
why
of
I
the-
run Ophidians in a sec. Gleaux,
Okay.
go ahead.
I was gonna say this is one of the dragons I'm trying to slay here lately. So my problem with Ophidians is the problem I have with Syntheseps.
There you
The
go.
problem
I was
I
about to
have
say
with Deadly Reach.
The game
the-
can't take it.
Yeah, the netcode in this game is simply incapable of dealing with extended melee lunge in this video game. And I think the true strength of Ophidians is the melee lunge it provides. Like, sure,
That's
handling is great.
interesting, okay.
Reload speed is great, but like those are just things that you can build into with your weapon. I don't think that's the strength. The strength is being able to hit somebody with a shotgun from like 10 meters out, do half their health, and then punch them.
That is quite
and
nice,
it kills
yeah.
them. And not to mention, Ophidian extends the range on like the Shapebinder melee, Celestial Fire. Like it extends out those ranges as well, which is ridiculous. And
That is why I run Ophidians. It is because
Yeah.
it adds consistency to the Shadebinder's kit. Because if I get a freeze and can't capitalize on the kill, it's dead in the water. I might as well not have froze him. Ophidians is the only thing that makes it consistent. Not just the lunge distance, but how often I get the lunge in the first place without a short stop. It's a big difference. So
That's
I would
funny.
go
the
without
miss
the
with
handling.
Ophidians.
I mean,
I can spec into handling on other guns. I can't spec into lunge range on Warlock unless it's from Ophidians.
You can't teach that.
you can't teach that, baby. I appreciate your take on that, Gleaux. My original leaning into the Ophidian was because of the handling. Now I know that you can spec into handling other ways. You can do, dexterity on the gauntlets. You can do,
man. When I play
what's-
Stormcaller, I run
Yeah.
a elemental capacitor True Prophecy, which puts me at like, I don't know, 90 something
Dude,
handling on it. And I
elemental
run Quick Charge with
capacitor.
Duality, which puts it at 100. So I don't even give a shit about the handling. I care about the
See.
melee range, man. It's insane.
See, that's
Like Girl
funny,
Snap
especially your
Igneous.
perspective as a Stormcaller. Are you Gleaux excited for Arc 3.0 so you can take more advantage of the Ragnhild D with elemental capacitor?
If next season is Arc 3.0, they're gonna have to like put me on milk cartons, man. Like I'm gonna be playing this game.
I've got my god roll Ragnhild, and I'm just kind of waiting on it. I don't play as many arc classes as I used to. I play Shadebinder, I play Top Tree Dawn, and I don't know, depending on what I'm feeling that day for Hunter or Titan. But it almost never comes down to arc. But I'm just waiting for my Rag and Hill D, because the extra handling that you get from Elemental on an art class is like, it's like heroin, dude. Like it's just, if the snappiness is ungodly, you just don't have to think about it at all.
I like Ragnhild a lot, but I pretty much refuse to use pellet shotguns. I think slugs are too good, and even with the shotgun changes, which I'm sure we'll get into later, I think slugs are still just heads and shoulders better than their pellet counterparts if you can consistently.
If you're
hit
accurate,
shots.
then absolutely they are. Yeah.
And
Well,
I would
sometimes
assume,
even if you're not with chaperone, you know.
I should, for the people at home, are you a controller or M&K main?
I'm a mouse and keyboard player.
Gotcha. Good for you.
So
I
are you
find
going
it
to build
difficult
more
to- Oh, go
into
ahead.
stability
Okay.
now? Gleaux?
Oh,
Yeah, I've been building into stability since before this. I think there's kind of like a false idea. I think that stability is meaningless on M&K because it's
So
because
stable.
you can, right, because you can
Right.
control your recoil a little bit easier.
but it has
you-
other functions too.
Right, you can't control the expansion of the accuracy cone though, right? Like then that's something that stability will help you with. When you're firing at like the very edge of hand cannon's effective ranges, stability
Mhm.
comes into play because it helps you maintain your aim assist at distance. So for example, like my daily driver IS Luna is a 86 stability IS Luna. I run a
Yeah.
max stability Hawk Moon. Like I've been investing into stability for a while now.
I've been playing a ton of mouse and keyboard lately, and when you have a weapon with low stability, especially a hand cannon, you feel it.
Yeah,
It's
you do.
it's there, man. You feel it. But
The only weapon I feel like I don't, or the only hand cannon archetype I feel like it doesn't really bother me on is 120s because you have so much time.
you
shots
do have
to
a lot of
adjust.
time,
Yeah.
to recover your shot before firing another. But I still do feel it. If you have a ridiculous roll, like if you have a true prophecy roll where the stability's in the basement, then maybe I'll feel it on M&K. Yeah, but if I'm using something like Igneous Hammer, because it has that super beefy stability base, I'm probably not going to feel it that much. But when I do have very low stability, even on mouse and keyboard, I do feel the effects.
I actually find my high stability Igneous Hammer to be kind of jarring to use after using my True Prophecy for a bit because it like doesn't kick. I'm used to it like moving off of my target and having to flick back, you know?
Yeah.
Real quick, I also
go
wonder
ahead.
the impact of high caliber rounds now.
over
In
Ricochet
what
giving you stability, so
capacity?
you take less flinch versus the trade-off of causing more
Yes,
flinch.
that's a
Yeah.
weird conversation, especially if someone's invested heavily, dude. Like if you get a Cantata that has 80 stability with Suros synergy, with unflinching, with 10 resilience, is high cal even gonna do anything? You know what I'm saying?
It's a good question. Yeah, it's a good question.
So
I'm on Team Ricochet because at least it serves the secondary function of ricocheting.
Cammy, one of the few people I know who has intentionally gone for and achieved several round-winning plays through ricocheting shots with Ricochet.
non-hard light.
Not hard light, like deliberately being like, my gun has Ricochet, calling the angle. It's like calling bank shot.
It is like in pool. I'm like, congratulations, boys, we win. Pulls the trigger.
Simple geometry. I do want to point out, to kind of put a bow, we can keep talking about it for a few more minutes if you want, but I want to make sure, because already there's a couple of people in the chat who are like a little riled up right now about the aerial changes. I want to say that right now, I would bet that these changes will all be positive to the sandbox overall and potentially better the PvP experience across the board. Now, and we've kind of gone to bat for the new system here on tonight's show. I also want to make it clear, we just have the best interests of the game in mind. So if the changes come out and they just aren't what we thought they were going to be, and they hurt the player base numbers and everyone is just kind of hating on them, like, we're flexible, man. Like, I just want it, like, it's always what Drew was talking about. Like, he just wants whatever.
Spectrum. It's not an on or off switch.
Yeah, it's not black or white. We want the player numbers to be good. We want everyone to have a good time. And I think, we all can agree that, except for a couple of shit posters maybe, that Bungie probably wants the same thing too. They want their game to be healthy and strong. And they even mentioned right here in the TWAB that if they roll these changes out, no matter what, they're keeping a weather eye. And if the changes suck, they're going to be there to try and make counter tweaks to make sure that they get it to a point where they want. So I appreciate all the passionate discussion on the topic. definitely keep the passion, but don't go crazy, because we know that this is not going to be the end all be all. We've had a lot of new systems introduced that were eventually tweaked or rolled back or adjusted over time. And I think this is a good step in the right direction.
All I'm saying is when you think big picture in the build crafting sense, it's kind of badass. This is one of the first times in Destiny we've had a FPS player become a build.
Dude, it's cool,
back
man.
into your anti-flinch, your in-air accuracy, or rather just accuracy.
Yeah.
Can we give a kudos to Bungie for like not only the pace of these changes that have been coming out lately, but the substantial nature of them. This is a mid-season update that looks like it's reading from an expansion. Like, this is a systemic change that's going on just season to season. Like,
it's like impressive, like a Lightfall level change happening. Yeah, happening now.
I've enjoyed their innovation, and you know, and also keep in mind, I mean, you never really know until you get it in your hands. You guys remember M&K stability changes? Yep. Do you guys remember Twitter and Reddit that day when they said,
when they were like the extra flinch on sliding? I remember the sliding change?
No, he's talking about the universal stability.
No, I'm giving you a new example. I'm saying I'm piling onto your example with another example.
You mean when the game was ruined?
Yeah, and then everybody's like,
and I don't really know. Are you
sure that they changed anything?
I'm like, I kind of forgot they added that penalty to sliding, but I'm sure it's going to be fine. And again, if it's not fine, if it's just a devastating, like there's kind of a sliding scale, right? The what would be a 10 on the scale, like a renewal grasp level. Like beckoning for a stasis week 1, as far as like change, like new system bad, please make change immediately. Like
original Shatter Dive, dude, takes it every time.
This was pretty bad.
Takes it every time, dude.
I would say that week 1 Shadebinder would be it for me. But yeah, Shatter Dive was pretty bad too.
Skillbinder, come on, man.
Skillbinder, baby. Classic.
Okay, so after we talk special weapon changes, I want to talk some season 17 builds that are like on the horizon and look really interesting.
Please hit me, Cammy.
So special weapon changes were what? Lower airborne stat on almost all the specials. Correct. And then scavengers now only give 1. So no matter if you have a scavenger or if you don't have a scavenger, the most you can get is 1 special ammo per green brick.
Yeah. That's very substantial, or a big change, I should say.
It seems like a big change, but I think for 6s, fusion rifles and shotguns are still going to run rampant. Yeah. But in a limb, you might be able to talk into a player switching double primary or pseudo double primary, like with Forerunner.
And starve them.
Yeah.
I think it's okay that 6s is still going to have that element of like wackiness. So like,
it's 6s.
I don't mind people running around with shotguns and 6s. I have problems with things like trials and survival whenever you're holding 6 bullets in chaperone and not even having to use a primary. That's where things get problematic, in my opinion.
Remember the days where you kept your special ammo?
Yeah. I too remember watching Drew run around with chaperone and Twilight Oath. That was fantastic.
Jesus Christ.
And keep in mind too, dude, like in 6s, well, first of all, shotguns, they got another hit, dude. Like what is the one hit now? Like
they're taking the fall off of we're talking about the meter, the 0.5 meter. Yeah,
dude, they got hurt again, and it was felt after the last one, so it's gonna be even more.
It's gonna be more.
And I don't fear, but I fusions are gonna go way up.
I'm probably gonna.
They're gonna do it from further. They're gonna do it consistently.
No.
So we'll see.
I'm gonna need to work on my sniping a lot, because I already know that like at the super high end, at the top of the ceiling, right? Like if you had a bunch of perfect AIs running around in a game, like one AI has like, you guys play Perfect Dark, you can customize each perfect sim and like dark sim. Like if you had a dark sim who was like glued to a sniper rifle, like that would be the most powerful sim. Like on the high end ceiling of like 3s, a good sniper is such a menace to deal with. That's like I might just have to really practicing my sniping with these special changes.
Yeah, Cloud Strike is more on the menu because of the change to Snapshot. I say change because it's not really a nerf. It's just a slight buff of everything else.
Yeah, snipers are getting a 10%. But was that going to be snappier by 10% more or something like that?
Right.
Yeah, Ready, Stow, and ADS, I believe.
Correct.
My concern with the shotgun changes is I think, listen, I'm happy that a special weapon is getting nerfed no matter how it takes place. But I do worry that slug shotguns were perhaps not hit enough, because right now I don't think pellet shotguns, their usage rate is the way it is because they're thoughtless weapons. You run at someone, you press the button, if they're close enough they die, right? Like there's not really like much mechanical skill that goes into using a pellet shotgun. I think slugs definitely take a degree of mechanical skill, though some are a little bit more generous than others, looking at Chaperone. But I think slugs deserve to be reined in more so than the pellets did. Because when you play against good players right now in trials or in survival, they're not using pellet shotguns for the most part. They're running around with Chaperone or Lord of Wolves or Duality in some cases. And yeah, you don't really get to react to it if you're within 14 meters. And spoiler alert, pretty much the entire game is played within 14 meters. So it's kind of hard to react to some of that. And then the flip side of it in those high level games is sniper showdown, where everyone just shoulder peaks lanes until someone gets their head popped off. So yeah, I hope something's done to address those. I still think those are outlying issues that weren't covered here.
And as you were saying earlier, there is a chance that we're going to see the Syntho Titans, the Phidian Warlocks. They've always been there, and also especially with Arc 3.0, the Deadly Reach Hunter. Yep. A Deadly Reach Hunter with Stompies with a slug is going to come in from 11 meters. He's going to slide for 3. He's going to pop you in the body and Deadly Reach, dude. Like that's a thing.
Deadly Reach might be the most underrated perk or like subclass perk in this entire game.
I think Drew would probably hard agree with that.
Because you don't need an exotic for that, dude. And it's the same distance. And and the hunter has the verticality. The hunter can jump over you and just rubber band right back. You know what I'm saying?
They get out of your melee distance, but still maintain theirs somehow.
Yeah, it's Syntheseps with Stompies, and then when you shotgun melee, you heal off of it. Like that's
pretty wild.
That class doesn't get more play.
So Drew had many eras. There was an era of Drew where there was a no weapon glitch, and he just ran around with Deadly Reach, just for a montage clip. It was really fun.
I love Assassin's Cal with top arc, dude, and I'm gonna love Assassin's Cal even more once whatever they do to Arc 3.0. Assassin's Cal is gonna be perfect as long as they keep Deadly Reach. It's gonna be perfect for Arcstrider.
I know we have to get close to wrapping up here. Anything else in special weapons that we want to talk about, or anything in primary weapons that we want to talk about?
Do you guys think the fusion rifle nerf is enough? Just yes or no? I don't think it is.
Probably not.
Yeah.
No. Well, yes and no. I think with the ammo changes, I think that the rapid fires honestly got hurt the most.
For sure.
I think.
For sure. Yep.
The high impacts, it's a coin flip. Don't know too much.
Dicey, yeah.
I still think it's going to be adapted precisions with accuracy perks.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me.
I think after it's all said and done, the meta's not going to change at all, special weapon wise.
Agreed.
I think you're going to see SMGs and sidearms.
Yeah,
I'm excited to be rocking SMGs, even with
the primary meta will definitely change, but I don't think the special weapon.
SMG's got a zoom change.
They did,
which
I'm kind of bummed about, but also I get it because
it's like a zoom calculation change. The lower end gets some help, and the higher end gets some hurt.
And trying to normalize it.
Shira and Multimac, they're going to be harder to control because of that.
They will be for sure, but
they'll also take more
still
flinch
going to be
because
excellent.
You can't invest stability into range. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, like Shira going from 17 to 16. Am I gonna feel it because I use it a lot? Yeah. Is it still going to be very good at 16 zoom? Also, yeah.
It should have went down to 15. I think it's absurd that SMGs have 16 zoom in. That's
Teraba not on the list, meaning I believe Teraba is going to remain at 16, which is I'm telling you right now, I may become a Peacekeeper Teraba main for a short time.
Huckleberry looks good too, man.
Huckleberry's looking sexy. Yeah.
We're overlooking one SMG that I think, especially if Arc 3.0 rolls around next season, I think Risk Runner is sleeper meta next season.
Oh,
it's got a giant range stat bar. It's got, I think, 22 meters of effective range next season. Look out for Risk Runner, especially if we have Arc 3.0.
And doesn't the Catalyst give stability? Maybe.
I think it gave range, but I don't.
Or is
remember.
It range?
I think it hit the range bar.
Interesting.
I wonder what the interaction with stability and perks that improve stability, as well as subclass inherent things like Gunslinger, what, knock them down gives stability?
Yeah,
I wonder if
yeah.
that counts towards the flinch mitigation.
Yeah, let's say knock him down with encore body shot. So 30 stability.
Right. So you start cranking weapons that normally can't get it to be pinpoint lasers that don't take flinch.
We
Could
need to
happen.
search for this answer.
Actually, so I was so focused on the zoom changes, I missed the bullet point above. They're getting an improvement to their damage fall off by 1.5 meters. So not only is Teraba being unaffected by the zoom change, it's getting a buff.
Getting more range.
Risk runner is range, by the way, for the cat.
So
Got
yeah,
it.
you might be finding me in PvP next season with the Teraba.
That gun's already crazy good, man.
That gun is nutty, bro. Like whenever I play Titan, I try to take advantage of Peacekeepers because it's just so fun to SMG on a Titan. Oh, I just love it.
I've been watching Nom3 to lead lobbies with Teraba for I don't even know how long at this
So
point.
fun.
It's
God.
disgusting what he does with that gun.
When you activate that, you literally go like beast mode when you activate that perk.
That was a
Shred.
surprising buff to hear about, that Teraba even got buffed in the first place. That one came out of left field for me.
That's pretty
That's
wild.
like when they buffed duality a while back. I was like, the hell are you guys
You're
doing?
like, for real though?
Especially the Splendor, bruh. That the
The
Lorelei.
Lorelei Splendor Nerf.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Fallout, I remember there was like a tweet directed at you like, oh, I'm just waiting for Cammy to tell me how this Nerf was good. I was like, what? What am I reading?
It gives you a sunspot, bro.
That's so
Literally at
funny.
any time.
Yeah.
When they
It
first
sounds
announced
on
that exotic,
demand.
I think anyone who knew anything looked at it and go, wow, that's broken. And then they announced the change and we're like, wow, that's more broken.
I know, like I made a video like, what? Everybody needs to stop, okay?
I'll admit, I didn't know right away. I was just like, I just heard that like it got nerfed. Well, that's a shame. And then later I was like, wait a minute, Sunspawn on demand? For real though?
Pocket rockets.
I think people were just complaining because they
Oh,
were
also
losing their
the-
rift or
The
sorry,
universal
their rift.
change of high
Yeah.
energy fire. That I'd assume
Oh.
sunspot.
Yeah,
you know, the
Scratched that
Emperor.
on this a little bit, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's a big change.
big change. Pour one out for Merc right now, who's crying because he can't one bang people with Monarch as easily as he could before.
Oh, God bless. I hate that bow.
Oh God, I wish he was here so bad right now to talk about that.
Oh,
That
Merc
means-
knows my thoughts on the Monarch.
Monarch
I
is
mean-
the most annoying gun to get killed by in the game, bar none.
The empowering melee got a lot better on mid warlock.
For sure.
Yeah, I would agree.
And if you can combine that with Celestial Fire or whatever in the next season. wow.
Stop.
I'm looking around for the high energy fire. Is the Lumina affected by that umbrella too?
I'm not sure what is all
I'd assume
affected.
so. I'd assume it's going to match the Uprift.
You'd
I
think
hope they all
so.
do. Every damage buff should match that. in my
I'd
opinion.
imagine if they miss something, they're going to go back in the future and hit
Yeah.
it.
Maybe.
If they have
I mean,
outlier.
it technically only says empowering rift, high energy fire, and inertia override.
They should
doesn't
normalize how
mention-
damage buffs affect PvP, or at least
So-
the normal ones like that.
Like a good example,
Oh,
like
Merc is in the chat. Sorry.
a good example of that, like it's going to benefit different weapons. Like a 390 pulse
Yeah.
with that 50% two bursts, right? Whereas before you're using it with Ariana or DMT or a sniper, it's going to help a different set of weapons.
Right.
I'm still running Emperor because it synergizes with Shadebinder better to being faster.
Yeah,
So-
for the freeze.
I'll just take the extra damage fall off potential.
I've never minded universal damage buffs that increase the forgiveness of a weapon. It gets problematic whenever they alter the TTK. Like I think we saw that
Yeah,
with
I would agree.
120s and Rampage. Any of the one-shotting primaries like bows and snipers and stuff like that can one-hit KO with Empress. I think that's where it becomes an issue, is when it alters the TTK in some manner.
Is there anything else that we want to comment on? I know that we are strapped for time today, which is totally fine by me, by the way, because the next time we can pick up right where we left off, and we'll have Drew, which will be exciting. But is there anything else?
Real quick, in Drew's honor, the battler is going to be insane with the lightweight pulse rifle buff.
Oh yeah,
And also the exotic trace rifles. All of them got something pretty interesting. Wave
they
splitter.
did,
Yeah.
with the ability to suppress people on the
Yeah.
a tag.
Yeah,
Like, that's
Cold Heart has
brutal,
ionic
bro.
traces, which could have
Yeah.
some interesting implications for Arc 3.0.
And then
That's just
Prometheus,
savage.
the lens actually will burn people.
Yeah.
The bombardiers just got a lot better.
And I took that personally.
And I took that personally. Dude, I'm telling you, once solar comes with
Nah,
all these
I feel
special
you, bro.
changes, the
I got you,
bombardiers
baby.
on solar,
I'm
it's a thing.
I'm always in your corner, bro.
I think
always Team Cool
Skyburner's
Guy.
Oath is going to be low key cracked.
Which is
Yeah,
gonna be
there's a
low-key
lot of
cracked.
changes for that. I can't even
Skyburner's
summarize it.
Yeah,
It's going to
they
be hit
basically
scan
made
while
a new
ADSing
gun.
now.
They literally made like
Yeah.
a new gun. Like it's just completely
I don't know if
different.
you've ever played with it, but that scout wasn't bad. It just suffered from the archetype, right? But I think with these changes, it could have some potential.
I'm looking forward to using it for sure. Anything else? Final note, cherry on top, cap off the conversation from anybody.
I like that the airborne changes give other exotics time to shine in ways they never have before. Like I always
agree.
thought,
Yeah.
for example, Mechaneer's trick sleeves was just a meme and never realistically comes up. But the combination of a lot of different things in this TWAB has made it really interesting. So you're kind of punished for having recovery on Mechaneer's trick sleeves because you don't keep your damage bonus. It's a risk reward type thing.
Yeah.
So if you're not doing recovery, where do you throw the extra stats? The answer is resilience and mobility for your dodge. They add a plus, was it 50 to sidearm and air accuracy? Nowadays, something like Forerunner exists, which is a special weapon sidearm that is now in-air accurate pinpoint because of that plus 50. And you can rock something like the Drang in the energy slot and swap between the two. And I don't know if surprise attack, the damage booster, is scaled the same way as high energy fire, but I think it's more. I'll put it to you this way.
more,
I
right?
believe it's more. Yeah.
Yeah, I combined it with some void perks that allow me to pick up Devour off an orb on the floor and made the orb very easily off kills when weakened targets. And I was running around with a 2-tapping Forerunner and 6s. So it was pretty nuts. So the fact that all these changes push a build like that already exists, but universally buffed it in every single way is exciting to me.
Yeah.
And also, Gravland's got a pretty nuts little thing that it got too.
I can't remind me the Gravlance change.
The Cosmol, like when it explodes. Let me get the exact.
Let me control F this bad boy. Graviton.
I think it also got
Lance.
Vorpal, perhaps, was another thing.
Yeah, it got Vorpal.
Oh,
and
Vorpal
then,
and Turnabout together.
yeah,
That's sick, actually.
That's pretty cool.
little things like
boy.
that, Bungie. We like that.
Yeah, you know what? Because we've only gotten to a fair amount of this TWAB. There's more to cover, but thankfully, next time we go live, we can bring in Drew. We can go in detail through a lot of these exotics. There's more to cover, and the good news is we've like 1 month about until season 17, so we got plenty of time to talk about these changes and what we plan to do next season. But in the meantime, I would like to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. If you're listening live on Twitch, or if you're listening through however you download your podcast, I want you to know that we all appreciate you. And sorry we couldn't have Drew on the show tonight, but again, please join me. Special round of applause for our special guest, Gleaux. So great having you on the show, buddy. Long time coming, and great talking to you. Thank you so much for showing up.
Yeah, thank you guys so much again for inviting me. I've been watching Firing Range probably since its inception, so
That's awesome.
it's pretty cool
man.
to be on here and talking shop with you guys.
I'm going to recruit you for trials some weekend. I'm going to wrangle you away from Drew and the boys, but we'll make that happen.
Let me know, man. Let me know.
Get you carry my sorry ass. Anyway, we're going to go around the table and we're going to do the thing where we tell all of you at home where you can find us when we're not here on the show, starting with Gleaux. Where can the people at home find you?
Sure. Yeah, pretty much any social media, Twitch, YouTube. It's all Gleaux, Gleaux.
Awesome. Great. You heard him. And Cool Guy, where can the people find you?
Twitter and YouTube, Cool Guy Games.
Awesome. Cammy, where can the people find you?
Well, since I'm a Stompee main now, I'm going to go with myanimélist.net/profile/CammyCakes. Thanks, everybody.
Let's plug Drew. It's Drewskis
Twitch.tv/Drewskis with an S.
With an S, not yeah. Be sure to add the
And
S.
YouTube.com/Drewskis channel.
Drewskis channel.
YouTube.com/Drugio. I'm not 100% on those last two.
Yeah, I believe it's youtube.com/Drewskis channel, and then
Is it Drewski's Hero or Drew? It's something like that.
I thought it was Drugio.
Let's go with Drugio. Just search Drugio on YouTube.
If it's not Drugio, it should be Drugio. He does D2 and Yu-Gi-Oh! So shout out to our boy Drew. Hopefully we'll get him on the show next time. And I'm Fallout. You can find me on YouTube at youtube.com twitch.tv/falloutplays and twitch.tv/falloutplays. And thank you all so much, everybody, for joining us on the show. Take care of each other, stay safe, and we will see you next time.